All right, guys, so continuing on, next we're going to do this part here, the feature, which has an image, a heading, some text, and it's going to look like that on larger screens, which is kind of cool because we have this going, basically like going into the image. So let's start on that. So we'll go under this section here, and let's say feature section, and say section. We'll give it an ID of feature. Okay, so we have a container. I'll just call this feature container. And we're going to make this relative because we're going to position, part of it is going to be absolute. So say relative, we're going to give it the container class. Flexbox, we're going to do flex column because we want it to stack on smaller screens. We'll do a max width of 6XL and then push it to the middle with MX Auto, and then MY-32, and padding we'll do PX6, and the text will do gray-900. And then on medium screens, of course, we want it to be a flex row, and on I think that'll do it. Okay, so actually no, let's remove the padding because I don't want, if we stretch it out, I don't want any spacing on the side here. I want it to look like it's coming from the edge if it's on smaller screens. I didn't want that up here. Okay, even if it's like this size, I want some space. I think it looks weird with the text on the edge, but I like how the image is like that. So we will add on this one, on medium screens, no padding on the sides. Okay, so that is the container. Then we have the image. So the image is not gonna, it doesn't need any classes, so we'll just go ahead and add the source, which is gonna be images slash, and it's gonna be in the desktop folder, and it's gonna be image dash interactive. Okay, so that's our image. Let's save that, and now we should see it. Okay, then we're going to go underneath that, and we're going to have the text container. So for the text container, let's do, this is actually going to be absolute on medium screens. So we'll say MD, we'll save that for, I like to do the MD at the end, but we want the top to be, we'll do top 48. Padding on the right 0, BG white, so that's a background, and then we'll start on the medium classes. Like I said, we want it to be absolute. Then we want medium, let's say from the right 0, and then also on the medium screens we want padding on the y-axis. We'll do 20, and then on medium screens padding on the left axis, we'll do 20. Did I say left axis? Padding on the left. Okay, and then in here we're going to have a couple. We have the heading and the paragraph. So for the H2, we're going to add onto that a max width LG. And let's do some margin top. So margin top 10, and margin bottom we'll do 6. Let's do font sans. Let's do text dash 4XL, and text dash center, text dash gray 900, and let's make it uppercase. And let's do on medium screens, we'll make the text a little bigger, so we'll do 5XL. And on medium screens, we'll do margin top 0, so take that away. And then also text left on medium screens. All right, and then we're going to say the leader in interactive VR. So let's see what that looks like. Cool. Let's make it a little bigger. And now it should, kind of run into the image here. Now we do want a paragraph under it as well, so let's go ahead and add that. So under the H2, we're going to have a paragraph, and the only class that's going to have is a max width medium. And then let me just grab the text for that, and we'll paste that in. All right, so let's make that bigger. We could center that text. It might look better if it's centered on small screens. So what we could do is just say text center, and then medium screens text left. So if we save that, that should be in the center, and then if we make it bigger, it'll stay on the left. Cool. So I think that section looks pretty good. Now the next part we're going to do is going to be our creations. So this is going to actually take a little bit. You can see the images are formatted different depending on depending on the page size. And when it's bigger, we have a see all button up here, and when it's smaller, we have the button down here, and we will be using some custom classes as well. So we'll get to that next. All right, so now we want to do the creations, which is this right here. So on small screens, we're going to have just a heading, or I should say like a title, and then these images that we can hover over and a button at the bottom. And on medium screens, we're going to have the title and the button at the top and no button at the bottom. Okay, and then these images actually have a gradient over them. You can't really tell by looking at them, but see how it's like darker at the bottom? So there is a gradient. And then we also have this hover effect. So let's go ahead and go directly under this section, and we'll say this is going to be the creations section, and let's do section ID creations. All right, so we have the main creations container, which is going to go around everything. So that's going to have a container class. We're going to do max width -6XL on that and move it to the middle. So MX auto, and then MY32, so margin 32, and then padding on the x-axis 6, and let's say text-gray 900. And on the medium screens and up, we're not going to have any padding on the x-axis, so PX0. Okay, now we have the header, which is going to be this right here. So on medium screens, it'll have the title and it will have the button, and that's going to be a flex box. All right, so that's what we're going to do next, is the creations header. So let's say flex, and we're going to do justify. Let's say justify center. Justify center, that's going to be on small screens. And then let's say margin bottom 20, but on medium screens we want to justify between, because on medium screens we have the title and the button, so we want to put that remaining space in between those two on medium screens. All right, so in here we'll have our title, our heading, that's going to be an H2. So let's do text 4XL. Let's text. We're going to do text-center on small screens. We want to uppercase it. And then on medium screens, we're going to do text-left. And then on medium screens, we'll make the text a little bigger. So we'll do text 5XL. Okay, and we'll say our creations. So if I save that and we take a look, okay, so on small screens, it'll be there. On larger screens, it'll be on the side here. Now, underneath that, we're going to want to, we're going to do our button. Now, the button is only going to be visible on larger screens, so I'll just leave this open for now. So directly under the H2, let's do a button. And we're going to, again, this will be hidden on small screens, so we're going to start with the hidden class. Let's do PX, so padding on the X, we'll do 10. Padding on the Y, we'll do, let's say 2. Margin on the Y, 0. Font bold. And now I want the letters to be really separated. Now, we do have these tracking numbers we can do, but I believe 2M is the widest. So what I want to do is actually add, in our config, we can add a new number for spacing. And I want to have it, I'm going to call it widest. So we'll be able to do this, tracking dash widest. All right, this isn't going to do anything yet, but I'll add the value in the config so that it does. And then let's say uppercase, border, let's say border 2 for the width, and border black for the color. And let's say font, Alada. And then on the hover state for this button, we're going to do BG-black. And also on hover, we're going to do the text is going to be white. And then on medium screen, since it's hidden on small screens, on medium screens, we're going to display it as a block so that we can see it. And it's going to say see all. Okay, so we'll save that. There we go. Now, as I said, I want these letters to be more spread apart. So what I'm going to do, since I called this tracking-widest in our config, we can go under the font family here and we can say letter spacing. Set that to an object, and then let's say widest, and we'll set that to, let's say, 0.3 So if I save that, now you'll see that the letters are much further apart. And you could set this to whatever you want. If I do 0.5 that's going to be wider. But we're going to go ahead and do that. All right. So let's see, what are we going to do next here? Now, we are going to have another button at the bottom, so I think what we should do is take all these classes and have just a BTN class. That way, if you wanted to add more buttons, you could. Now, I don't want to include the hidden and the block. I don't want to include the display classes because that's kind of case by case. So what we will do is take all of these and we'll just copy those, and then I'll add a class of BTN. Okay, and as soon as I do that, it's going to mess up. But if we go to our input CSS, let's go ahead and let's actually use layer and then not later, layer and then base. I'm sorry, not base, it's a component, a button. So we'll say components, and then let's add a class of BTN, and then we want to apply those classes. So let's save that, and there we go. And we shouldn't have any weird errors down here either. All right, cool. So now the next button we can just use that BTN class. So now we have the actual items. So let's go under the header div, which is right here. So it ends right here. And then let's say this is going to be the, I guess, the items container. Okay, and as far as the classes for the items container, that's going to be a flexbox. And let's make it a flex call to begin with. Whoops, flex, and then flex dash call. And then we're going to do a justify, let's say justify between. And let's make it width dash full. Space on with the Y items, we'll do 6 in between, and then the text we'll do 2XL. And let's do text dash white and uppercase. And then we're going to do on medium screens, we want it to be a flex dash row. And on medium screens, we want to then remove the space on the Y between the items on the Y axis. So set that to 0. And we want to add space on the X. So space X dash, and we'll do 8. Okay, so that's the items container. Now, as far as the individual items go, we're going to have a